throwing Hillary under the bus, and they go on and on about hypothetical matchups and saying Bernie can beat Trump and Bernie can beat Ted Cruz and all these things. And maybe, it's politics. Anything can happen between now and November. But it's the real story in that is that the ultra-liberal website Salon just gave up on Hillary Clinton. So very, very interesting that would happen this week. So let's take a call. Thomas made it back. Tom, welcome to the show. You had something else. I was hoping I hadn't lost you.
Yeah, part of it is you're going to get into Trump and the Pope. But today at church, I go to a Seventh-day Adventist church, and right after service, there is a group of people protesting on the sidewalk, and they're from Dave Koresh's group, and they're trying to condemn us because we go to church on the true Sabbath. But if you go back to when the Pope was at the United Nations, that's the first time that all the world leaders or prime ministers were all there in attendance. And then also when the Pope addressed the Congress, all three branches were there, the Supreme Court, the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. That's the first time that's ever happened in history. And then then Obama said that all the people of the world should listen to the Pope. And the Pope is acting like God on earth, which isn't biblically true. And I'm currently reading a book called The Son, Worshipped as God is Lucifer Worship. And on the cover, it has the beast and its image. And it's a picture of the Vatican with its temple and the Washington Monument in front of the White House. And if you take the Washington Monument and its dimensions, 55 feet by 5 feet, and the width 55 feet by 5 feet, and the height 555 feet, it adds up coincidentally to 666. So this is something that the people don't realize. And you only will know this if you do believe in the Bible and what the Bible does predict. And all these predictions are coming true. But a lot of these liberals don't believe in what the Bible says, and they want to have their own doctrine. And they're starting to say now that people that worship on the true Sabbath are the ones that are causing the world problems, which isn't true. It's another hoax. And, I just don't know what to say, but if people do have a true belief, there is everlasting life in heaven. And the one caller from Livonia, who is the one Lutheran, I think his name's Joel, he's pretty religious guy and stuff, and he's pretty devout. But I don't know what to say with what this world's coming to. I mean, the United States was blessed by God, and it's just being torn apart by these leftists, and maybe in a few cases some extreme rightists. And I would like your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, my thought would be that I'm blown away by the figures on the Washington Monument, number one, but I would agree with you. That's absolutely right. There are a lot of people, and whether they're atheists or whether they're devil worshippers or whatever their background and story is, the United States of America was founded by people who believed in something better, who believed in taking care of people and in working hard and making something of your life. The United States as it was founded is a good thing. Have we had problems? Yep. Yes, we've had tons of problems. But sure. There are people today, and I put Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Maybe Bernie's just ignorant. I would like to believe that he's not evil, but he's just ignorant. But those people are making our country less safe. They're tearing it apart. They're dividing us, and it's not good because you know what? We are the last great hope on the planet. If we fail here in the United States and become some crazy socialist regime, or we get split up, because frankly, that's my thought. I think the world would like to see the United States split into pieces because they don't want us as a world power anymore.
Gary, through history, all empires have failed. Every empire, no matter how long it's last. And you can go back to Nebuchadnezzar and the interpretation of the dream of the giant with the head of gold, chest of silver, and bronze, and then legs of feet and lead and clay. We're down at the feet of lead and clay. You can mold them together, but they will never, ever mesh and bind. And you start the sun worship, the pagan holiday starts back with Babylon and Nimrod, and then his wife Tammuz after Nimrod died. And all through the years, the Catholic Church, as it's risen in prominence and gained wealth, has dictated with what the socioeconomic climate of the time was. They've kind of molded their religion to fit that instead of staying true to the biblical studies of what the Bible says. And it's really pretty sad. But as the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I'm not trying to promote it, I'm just saying it's another venue out there that does truly believe in the Old and New Testament, but coming in the last couple weeks of April and or March, and then the month of April, we're doing prophecies, the revelations, the end times, and I've been to 3 of these, and it's opened up my mind. And I do believe in God. I do believe in Jesus, but I'm still a sinner every day.
Yeah.
And I have to fight that every day.
Yeah.
So,
well, stay strong, Tom.
It's really sad.
Yeah. Don't you got to stay optimistic, stay strong, and stick with your beliefs. And, things will get better. We might have to get worse first, but things will eventually get better. Stay optimist, man.
One last comment is, when are we going to get some Wham T-shirts so we can wear them around the Ann Arbor Nationalist People City?
We'll have to tell Linda to make sure we order up some Wham T-shirts, and maybe.
I'm trying to work on that with Derek Stone.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, thanks, Tom. I appreciate the call. Have a good one.
You.
All righty. Okay, so there you go. Well, he was mentioning the Pope and the wall, and I don't want to beat it to death, but the Pope did mention while he was in Mexico, near the border, talking with the Mexican government, made the statement, and he didn't say Donald Trump's name, but he said people who want to build walls are not Christian, which is, even Linda said it at her show. It's not right for the Pope to be saying that. It's not right for the Pope to be interjecting himself, being the communist that he is, he shouldn't be interjecting himself into our political system with a comment like that. And I hope most people who are Catholic and who may follow the Pope or love the Pope or whatever don't take that as something right. Because you know what? He is being a complete hypocrite, knowing that the Vatican has huge walls built around it, that the Vatican is not taking in any refugees, is not taking in any immigrants, and he needs to stay out of it. Yeah, Mr. Pope, go do what you got to do, but don't interject yourself with a stupid comment like that. And I know you were pointing it at Donald Trump, whether you named him or not, so I won't beat that one to death. Let's also talk about Judge Scalia dying this last Saturday. A lot of talk, and, Gary is a conspiracy-minded guy. Why there was no autopsy? And there's been a lot of comments about his death certificate was okayed by a judge over the phone without having actually been there. There was some wild rumors that there was a pillow over his face. It wasn't. The owner of the place said it was over his head, at the top of your head, and we've all done that before. You sleep and your pillow kind of goes up top instead of you being on the pillow. That kind of thing. And his son, I've listened to interviews with Judge Scalia's son who said, we didn't want the autopsy. We don't believe that anything bad happened. He was 79 years old. I understand that. But for my own sake, and I think for the sake of the country, I would love to have seen some tissue samples and some other stuff, because you know what? Heart attacks can be caused by chemicals. Has anyone ever heard of foxglove, right? Foxglove is well, you've seen them. They're those kind of tall, beautiful plants, but digitalis, I think, is part of what comes out of foxglove, and that can cause a heart attack as well. So for me, I'm a little, it takes that conspiracy-minded Gary, puts that tinfoil hat on my head. I would like to have seen some kind of an autopsy done before the judge was buried. And the fact that his body was rushed away, that the marshal was there, and Michael Savage did a wonderful job kind of outing it all, making you suspicious. But it bothers me enough that would have happened and nobody bothered checking it out. And we've got an article on the Daily Drift of a lady who's familiar. She's a forensic specialist who deals with Texas and the laws in Texas. Great story. Go to thedailydrift.com and check that out. Let's take a call from Mike in Ann Arbor who wants to talk about Pope and the Trump. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hi, Gary. First of all, I'm a Roman Catholic, and I was born in the Catholic Church, so you're not offending me in any means whatsoever. I fully agree. First of all, the Pope has no business interjecting himself into politics. He, as far as his infallibility, that the Catholics believe is in the religion, not in politics. And you are totally wrong. He did use Trump's name. When he was on the plane, it was translated, and he said people like Trump.
Oh, he did?
Yes,
okay.
he did.
Well, I stand corrected.
Yeah, so in other words, when the Donald came back at him, he had every right. And I would say to the Pope, El Papa, you've got billions and billions of dollars in the Vatican, in the vaults of the Vatican. The Vatican runs a bank, which is one of the most corrupt banks on the face of the earth. And now this is coming from a Roman Catholic, okay? And the people in my country are 98% Roman Catholic. So, we don't hold him on any pedestal politically, okay? He's just a regular guy. But for him to sit there and to chastise Trump and to chastise the United States for not allowing immigrants, hell, they're coming across the border anyways. You know, they're not being stopped. But for the United States to want to build a wall, a southern wall, to stop the immigration, I would strongly suggest, El Papa, go back to Argentina, go back to where you came from, and service the poor in Buenos Aires and in La Plata and in Rosario and wherever you came from, but leave the U.S. politics alone. Period.
Yeah, I tell you what, one of the things that really bothers me is that, you know, Italy is pretty close to the Mediterranean and the Middle East.
Well, it's on the Mediterranean.
And why aren't they doing something to help the Christians who are being persecuted? I mean, they have enough money in the church that they could practically buy a small country to move these Christians who are being forced out of the Middle East. Well, do something with your money, the billions of dollars you're talking. It's probably more like $1 trillion. God only knows how much money they have.
The wealth of the Vatican is unbelievable. You know, they plead poverty, but they are filthy, filthy rich. And I can tell you something right now. There was a Catholic priest, God rest his soul. If you have ever heard of Jesuit priest Malachi Martin, he basically prophesied that we would be having a pope who is basically a satanic pope, and he had a book, The Keys of the Church, or Keys of the Blood, rather, I'm sorry, where he said Satan has entered the Vatican. And frankly, to be honest with you, this guy is a liberation theology pope. This guy is a communistic pope. This guy, as far as I'm concerned, you know, it's tough for a Catholic to say this. But God, I wish that we could erase this guy from the Catholic Church. This guy is destroying the church and destroying the faithful of the church. And as far as I'm concerned, El Papa, go back to Italy, and by the way, one other little thing. Did you notice what Donald Trump said? ISIS wants Rome, and they do. They want to take the Vatican. And imagine who would be the only one that would defend him. It would be Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So, and he even stated that in his statement. So as far as I'm concerned, you are not hurting me as a Catholic, and if any Catholics are angry at what I'm saying right now, think about it. John Paul II wouldn't have done this. Pope Benedict wouldn't have done this. Many of the other popes would not have done this, but this guy is a comunista. He is right along with Raul Castro. He is right along with Barack Obama. He is a communist.
Yeah,
Thanks, Gary.
Well, hang tight, Mike, because
Sure.
There's another question I want to ask you. I have another story on the drift that was linked up by David. Listener David sent me a link, and we put him up there, PGH Expat. And it's a story out of Minnesota where a billboard had been put up that kind of blamed Catholic Charities for resettling Islamists into Minneapolis. And there's a huge amount of Somalis being settled there, and then they're moving off back to ISIS-held territory to fight for ISIS. And the Catholic Charities made them take it down, and of course the ad company did because they didn't want to start a ruckus or anything. But it goes to show that at what point, and I'm not blaming all Catholic charities, so don't yell at me for saying this.
Go ahead.
But there are some Catholic and other charities, and it's not just the Catholics, it's Christian charities, who are spending money or making money, getting money from the government to resettle Islamic refugees here into the country. And isn't that a form of suicide when you're bringing in people who may want to end your Christian way of life? You know what I mean? Because it makes no sense to me. It's what we're doing in Western Europe. It's what we're doing here in the United States. It's suicide.
Well, I'm shocked that you've seen reality. I mean, hello.
What?
You know, let me give you one little bit of information that nobody else has gotten. Do you know that right now in Germany, in Kassel and in Berlin, the mayors of Kassel and the mayor of Berlin have tried to make a law in their communities where you lose your property rights and you must share your home with the migrants.
Ugh.
Hello, can you understand property rights, personal property rights, your freedoms? I can, the guy that was talking just before me about Revelation, the end of the days, it's here.
Yeah. Well, imagine if Bernie were to get elected. How long before he would make that ploy? You know what I mean? Hey, you've got to welcome in these immigrants, and you need to share your house with them.
Well, with the clowns like Ryan and McConnell and the one we had before, Boehner, and some of the talk show hosts that have their heads, where in their butts, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Well, great call, Mike. I appreciate it, as always. Have a good weekend, and let's hope that Trump pulls out top on this one, right?
I hope he will, and if he does, I hope he puts Cruz in as a Supreme Court justice. I think that would be the best thing. I cannot see Cruz winning a general election.